I began to think of this whole experience as my own personal wildfire. It was a blaze I myself had started through my own foolishness, and also through my submission and agreement to someone else's foolishness. But either way, I knew it was a fire that was going to consume me, and it was going to destroy or transform life as I had known it. And this was no grass fire. It wasn't smoke and a lot of smoke and quick flames, and then it's out in a few hours. This was a forest fire, and the big trees were burning and exploding all around me, and I knew before before I wanted to know, I knew that it was over. But I was thinking this morning, I didn't just start this channel to talk about the wildfire or to talk about the destruction of the wildfire or the forest fire. That's how we tend to see things from the old point of view, that a fire destroys the things that we care about, the things that we are, the things that have meaning to us. It destroys our past. It destroys everything. From one vantage point, that's absolutely true. That's what a fire does, or that's what a fire can do. But a fire that takes everything away is also about new potentials. It's about the loss of things that we have cared about and things that we have constructed and things that we have believed in. It's about the loss of all of that. But it also can create a whole new environment, a whole new ecosystem, a whole new way of seeing life and living life. And of course, I needed to start this channel with an explanation, at least some explanation of how I did the foolish things that I did. But really, maybe what interests me most is not so much the past or rehashing the stupid things that I did, but to talk about what actually happens when there's a clean sweep like that and everything is destroyed, and therefore everything can be new. One of the things that I experienced in being caught up in the legal system is that, at least in my case, I don't know every case, but at least in my case, they were very concerned that I take responsibility for what I had done, and that I not try to assign the blame anywhere else or try to get out of taking responsibility for the things that I had done and the ways that those decisions and actions had harmed other people's lives. And well, on one level, I fundamentally agreed with that. Because I was responsible. No one ever put a gun to my head and told me to do this. There was a lot of psychological and spiritual and emotional manipulation, but I did fundamentally believe that I needed to and wanted to take full responsibility for this. But it also occurred to me that this narrow description of what responsibility means, that basically if you're responsible, something is your fault. You are to blame. You did this and you need to be punished for this. You need to be sent to prison for this. And because those were the rules, because I had put myself in this position, I agreed to that. I sat in court and said, yes, I am responsible for taking these actions. I am responsible for the fact that people have lost their money. I did do this, and I'm not going to try to weasel my way out of that. But something in me knew that that's only part of what responsibility is. That version of responsibility is only one aspect. That it would have been nice in that process if someone had been able to say, you do need to accept responsibility for what you've done, and we also recognize how this has hurt you and how this is hurting you and hurting your family and how difficult a thing this is to go through. But that's not how the legal system is set up to work. The legal system is about right and wrong, good and bad, innocence or punishment, and there's no space for that. And part of what has burned away from me, or part of what I learned in the process of the burning away, is that most of the ways that we think about life and most of the rules that our culture is built upon don't make a lot of sense. And part of what I wanted to start talking about in this channel is this notion of responsibility that's married with a kind of compassion for why all of us in one way or another get ourselves in messes, whether it's relationships or family or work or financial or addiction or homelessness, and you name it. There are challenges. I don't know anybody whose life right now is without significant challenges. And I learned from experience that this one-dimensional, you are responsible for your actions, and so you need to go to prison and you need to be punished for this. I tried to say, not a lot, but somewhat, I said, well, how about if I take responsibility for what I've done here by finding new ways to earn money, create products of value that might have a chance to pay people back. But the legal system wasn't interested in that because they saw it as another way of me trying to escape culpability for what I had done. But anyway, part of what I learned is that when I came back, at first I just worked in a metal shop and I just kept my head down and I banged metal and I created things and I earned $20 an hour and I helped a business grow and I was a good employee for my boss and I was grateful to her for giving me the opportunity to do this work. And then that ran its course and I got older and it was both my body was not as capable of doing that kind of physical work, and I also had an interest in learning what can I do with what I've learned. How can I bring the experiences of what has happened to me in a beneficial way to my community and to the world around me. So I started working in human services, and I began to think more and more about this idea or this whole notion of caring and responsibility, about having compassion for where people are in their lives and how we got here and what happened to us, what happened to me, what happened to the people we see living on the streets in our communities, what happened? And also bringing in the element of accountability and responsibility. So I'm going to take a turn here in these videos from just talking about the train wreck or the forest fire of what happened to me, and to begin to talk about some things that I've seen and experienced both within my own life and what this process has been teaching me, but also how it applies to ways in our community. It applies to things that are happening in our community. So more on this soon, but I just wanted to assure you that this channel will not be an endless story of the train wreck of Mac Parker's life, or the wildfire of Mac Parker's life, and all the terrible things, the stupid things that I did, and the terrible things that happened as a result. I never really liked stories like that, where, why doesn't this guy just do it differently? Why does he keep making these stupid mistakes? But anyway, I'm going to take a turn here towards talking about some of what that wildfire cleared away for me. Some of the old beliefs and habits and structures and identities that I had built up over the course of my lifetime, and how it now allows me to see things in different ways. And that's kind of where I want to go next in these next few videos. So that, more on this soon. Thanks so much for watching. I will confess that I don't really like watching YouTube videos where people get on and the first thing they say is please like and subscribe and comment and all those things, because it just feels kind of commercial and a little bit self-serving. But it does matter if you are interested in what's being talked about here, and if you would like to see more of it, and if you would like to help these videos be put in front of more people. It does help and matter if you like and subscribe and comment and like other people's comments, and all those things apparently help to spread this farther and wider. Thanks for listening. Thanks very much. See you again soon.